We are joined now by former Vancouver Canuck TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Francesco Antonio Corrado.
What's shaking, boys? It's been a while since we've talked.
I know.
Yeah.
Nice to see you guys. I missed you.
Happy New Year.
We missed you too. Happy New Year on January 21st. We are well past the Larry David deadline.
We can't. Yeah, we gotta abide by the Larry David rules.
I didn't see your name on the Italian Olympic
I was
team.
very disappointed not to see his name on the Italian Olympic
Assistant coach,
team.
AGM, something, Frank. Come on.
I don't know. The consulate, they must have lost my paperwork or something. But that was my plan. You guys know, like, this was like before I retired, this was supposed to be the big finale for me. I was playing in the KHL, and I said to myself, I need to work on getting my Italian passport because I'm going to go play the 2 years in Italy because they play in there's two teams that play in the Austrian league.
Yep.
So you can make decent money. You play against better competition. And then this was going to be it. I was going to ride off into the sunset after the Milano Cortina games. Well, it never really happened. So that's why I put together my roster.
So is your dad, Big Sal, born in Italy? Is that how you would qualify?
So, well, you would think so.
Or your mom?
Well, no. So my dad is born in Italy, but I guess when they came over, when they gave up their citizenship, I actually couldn't get it through my dad. I had to get it through my mom, who was born in Canada, but her father still had it. So that was the avenue. So I'm a citizen, passport holder, all that stuff. Like I get, when there's referendums and stuff and elections, I get like papers in the mail to vote on all these things. And
Really?
I don't understand what they're talking about most of the times. And it's just see or no. And I don't vote. I don't get involved in these things.
Okay, but still, can you?
Did you vote for Berlusconi?
Yeah. I got no juice politically in that country.
Okay, but you could get into coaching here, Frank. Why can't we get you to the Olympics going forward here? Like this still can be part of your project here. I'm game here. Let's help you out.
You see what they did with the roster though, right? Like they really abided by the rules, the IIHF rules. But in Beijing, China, they didn't do that. They basically said, we're going to make loopholes so a guy like Ethan Werrick or Ryan Sproul, guys from Toronto that have no allegiance to China at all, they could just get a passport. But there's guys that have been really loyal to the program.
Vancouver's Alex Patan's on the team.
Patan is on the team.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alex Patan, brother of Nick Patan. A bunch of guys that played in the OHL. The guy who's actually a really interesting player is the goalie, Damian Clara. He's a second-round pick of Anaheim. Like he's Italian, like true Italian, but he's a second-round pick. And he's going to play. Like he plays, who does he play for right now? He plays in Sweden he plays in Sweden. He plays in the SHL. He plays for Brynäs in the SHL. So yeah, he's got like a legit chance to play in the NHL.
Okay, born in Brunico, Italy. So that's what their team will look like, and frankly, I don't like their chances.
No.
Here's who Frank mocked up.
Yeah.
Could have been the team. Now, that's a potential bronze medal team right there. Holy cow. I mean, Cirelli's a Canadian Olympian, for heaven's sake.
Well, listen, I messed up a little bit on this one because I whipped it up in like 5 minutes, and then I realized I had Cirelli, who's on Team Canada. I had Zuccarello, who's on Team Norway. So I had to take both those guys off. And then if I was really thinking, I would have realized I could have had Celebrini on this team, but I didn't even have Celebrini on the team, right? And I also forgot Dylan DeMello, and I put out a second roster, and dumb me, terrible GM, I forgot Matt Coronado. Coronado. How did I forget that? I need goals, and I left goals on the table. I'm like Billy Guerin leaving Cole Caulfield at home.
Adam Fox. It is amazing how Italian Americans and Italian Canadians have really taken to the sport because that's a pretty damn good team.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
like,
okay.
That's competitive.
That team would be competitive.
Like,
we
it would be
there with like the Swiss and the Slovaks, and that's the range we would be in, and we would give like the Finns and the Czechs a decent run, I think. But ultimately, we're like that middle of the pack team.
But understand, like, if the Italians can take all these quasi-Italian the other countries could too, right? Like, that would have to be uniform, across the board. So
I'm trying to think, like, what other countries would have that many heritage guys on the table that you could
not
do
to
it
that
with.
level. It wouldn't be to that level.
Team GB?
GB would probably be
right. That would be the one for sure.
Yeah,
that one. But that's almost like it's almost too all-encompassing.
Yeah,
but. We would. How many penalties do you think we would draw, Team Italy? We'd be the kings of drawing penalties.
He would make the Azzurri proud. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: if you took this to the nth degree, you would run the Canadian and American teams out of players, right? No, sorry, you don't qualify as Canadian anymore. You're Team GB.
No, we have a couple of guys from the neighborhood that like to have those conversations. Like, hey, you'll be playing for Italy. You're not going to ask any questions about it.
That's right. Well, you could go old school and lean on the guys. You're not reporting for Canadian camp.
Let's put it this way: it's in your best interest. If you represent
That's right. Oh man.
Yeah, come down and meet me at the supper club. All right. Let's get to the Vancouver Canucks. What's your reaction to what Adam Foote said about his veteran players on Monday?
So. Okay, I lived this. Okay, I lived playing for a team that was last place in the NHL. Ours was more planned, though, right? Like this, the wheels have really fallen off here. No one sort of expected this team to go down this deep into the bottom of the standings and have this poor of a performance. So that you're almost falling into it at this point, which is harder than what I was a part of, which was sort of coined the dignified tank, where everyone knew what was coming. And a lot of the veteran guys on the team realized that coming out of this, they were going to be okay. Like they knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Nylander was in the system. Marner was in the system. There's a good chance we're going to draft Matthews and we'll make some signings and we'll turn this thing around pretty quickly. So the veteran guys never really got down, and it never felt like there was this losing odor on those guys. Now, when it happens quick and unexpectedly, I think that's when it's harder for guys, right? Because you were supposed to be better. You were supposed to be a team that, was maybe challenging for a playoff spot. It's been drama after drama, with what's going on and players leaving the room, and even Quinn Hughes leaves and he has some pointed comments after a morning skate in Toronto about how it doesn't have to be the Quinn Hughes show where he is. So all these things lead up to frustration and perhaps resentment, and it's not easy. But I'll say this, moving forward, you just have to have a good read on where guys are at mentally. Like, are they going to be, when you try and turn the corner here, are they going to be stuck in that losing mindset, that mentality, or are they going to be ready to go and push this thing forward? That's where the evaluation needs to be.
Hear you on that, but Foote saying the vets are part of the culture that he wants to eradicate here with bad body language and temper tantrums and getting themselves and the rest of the team off their game. Going forward for the Vancouver Canucks, what's your prescription? Like, are any of the vets who exhibit that kind of behavior worth keeping?
Yes, because there's some good players there. Like, I think you almost, the old hot crazy scale, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, you almost have to have a certain kind of scale where you're, you can, okay, who can snap out of it quicker? Who's a really good player that is hard for us to replace? So maybe we can put up with some of the stuff, not put up with it, but we can work with it at least. And there's going to be some guys that are too low on the scale and you just can't do it. And those guys will move on. There's going to be some guys on the scale that you kind of have to keep, or you don't have to, but you might be better served to keep. Or you could say, you know what, we're just going to really blow it all up. But that's an interesting, that takes you far away. Like it prolongs things for sure. But it's So it feels like there's so many frustrated people, whether it's staff or players, and what you're seeing on the ice is not a good feeling. And, you lose 2 games in a row in the NHL in a week, it feels like a month. You lose 11 in a row, feels like a year. And it's been tough sledding for them.
For those that are wondering what you're talking about, Toronto Maple Leafs 2015-2016. Leading scorer on the year was Nazem Kadri with 45 points. Leading goal scorer on the team for the year, P.A. Parento, 20 goals was the leading goal scorer. That looks very similar to what we're talking about with the Canucks, except the next year, Austin Matthews comes in. He scores 40 goals, 69 points. James Van Riemsdyk at 29 goals. Kadri explodes to 32 goals. Willie Nylander's there, scores 22 goals. So Marner has a great... I mean, all of a sudden the kids arrive. Those are 18, 19, and 20-year-old players that jump into the Leafs lineup, and it all changes for the Leafs. Like
it did
in one year.
Well, and to show you, like, some of the veteran guys, I won't say the player's name, but I remember eating breakfast the morning of a game, before pregame skate, and one of the older guys was sitting next to me, and we have like TV screens with all the standings and everything, the scores from last night. And one of the guys goes to me, "Oh, Vancouver's going to catch us." I said, "What do you mean catch us? Like we're in last, like we're trying to catch them." He goes, "No, they're going to catch us for last if we keep winning." I go, "What?" He goes, "Well, yeah, don't you want to draft Matthews?" I go, "Well, I'm kind of trying to win and like stay in the lineup here, bro. Like, like there's that." But I think when you're going through that, like, hey, this is a tank year, like you guys had almost accepted that it was going to be a tank year, and full well knowing that mindset was going to stop next year.
Yeah.
But the mindset actually did stop the next year, and it has to. I just don't know if the Canucks players will have like
Canucks aren't in that. They're not in that shape. No.
But here's what
2 years from now, maybe.
Here's the question and I heard Ian McIntyre speak about this yesterday, and I thought he used a couple of really good words when he talked about how quickly the surrender has come from the Vancouver Canucks. They won the 4 games after the Hughes trade. It became clear, as management messaged in the early days of the losing streak, where this was headed. And IMAC was talking about how he thought Foote, exploded on the veterans as he did, because how easily and smoothly this losing streak has gone. That there was my word, capitulation here from the group. So take on the losing culture question for me, Frank. Like, where are you?
Because I'm going to guess the comment that you heard from your teammate then was probably in March. We're January right now, and we're already seeing
Vancouver was close. Vancouver was like close to being in last place or something. It was later in the year, right? Yeah. That's when it sort of not became accepted, but it was just, this is what's happening, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, Matt, I mean, to answer your question, this is it's a really tricky situation. No one prepares for anything like this. You don't mentally train for anything like this. All you've tried to do is A, win at every level you've played at, and B, have this journey where you try and be the best player to try and get to the next level and get to the NHL. And then at that point, it's all about winning and what kind of contract you can get, how much dough you can stash away. So it's just not an easy thing to navigate. For the coach, it's not an easy thing to navigate. Like, think about coaches that play on just your average team. You have only so many bullets that you can fire in a year. When do I bag skate them? When do I yell at them? When do I, give myself the blame for a game and let them off the hook? When do I have some kind of other distraction? If you're constantly having to yell at guys or whatever, it falls on deaf ears. And you can't go to the same trick more and more, like, over again. And they're in a situation where if you're losing, you're looking for the bullets. Like, well, what's my move now? You don't really look for a move after a win. You win games, you put the music on, you let the good times tape roll the next day at practice, and you move on with your life. But you always have to have a reaction to a loss. And now you're this many deep. You've won 4 games on home ice all year. Like, I don't care how good of a coach or how experienced you are. You're searching for answers on how you even just logistically get by this thing day to day.
Roenick and Pettersson are performing. They are doing reasonably close to what they're supposed to do. DeBrusk, Garland, and Besser are invisible right now. And their production outage goes back months now, especially at 5-on-5. Do the Canucks take pennies on the dollar for those guys? Do you make a decision on one of those guys? Oh, he's just underperforming, but we'll get him back. Like, he'll get back on track. Like, what do they do with 3 veteran wingers, 2 of which have trade protection? What do they do? One of which has trade protection.
I don't think you take pennies on the dollar just to do it. Because realistically, like, who's coming in here next year that you really need to protect? Right? Like, okay, you're probably, let's say you draft first overall. You could draft McKenna. You could draft Stenberg. You could draft Verhoff if you want. You've got a really good young player. Now, I think you just have to assess, like, is it really toxic? Is it really toxic that I need to protect this guy from whatever venom is in that room? And if it is, then you got to take pennies on the dollar, because this is your prized new possession, and you're like, a lot of the future of your franchise hinges on this thing. But if it's not venom, and it's just guys that are having a rough year and need a summer to just recalibrate and get away, then I think it's silly to accept pennies on the dollar for guys that can be, and probably, let's face it, want to be better players, right? I think that's, like, going back to what we talked about earlier, that's an evaluation that needs to happen internally.
What did you make of the Sherwood trade?
Like, I got to be honest with you. Like, I think that's a fair return for Kiefer Sherwood. You have to keep in mind, like, he's had 2 good years now with Vancouver. He's also got 60 career goals. And prior to 3 years ago, he was a tweener guy, and had never really found his footing. So I get it. Like, you know, he hits everything that moves, and that's the thing that will likely be the most consistent moving forward. He's scored a lot in the last 2 years. He's also had shooting percentage on his side, and we've seen recently, like, that has come down, and the goals have been less plentiful. It also coincides with the team playing horribly, so that doesn't help things. But I think there was always going to be a little bit of a, you know, from the other team's point of view, like a buyer beware thing here. Like, what are you purchasing? If you think you're purchasing goal scoring and hits, then you might be mistaken. You're purchasing hits with some goal scoring and realizing that the shooting percentage, the way it was not necessarily sustainable. So to get, you know, a couple 2nd-round picks, you get a prospect. It never made sense that teams were going to empty the piggy bank for a maybe or a what if, and not necessarily a sure thing when it comes to the goal scoring.
Yeah. Turns out that was right. I mean, I thought a physical player who scores goals on a super cheap ticket, plays with emotion and passion, might fetch a little bit more. I wondered about that. You know, if they had made the deal in early November or late November when they first put the memo out. I also wondered that if they had waited it out and see if you could have caught some desperate.
But that
teams
sentence makes it sound fair. A 30-year-old with 60 career NHL goals just got you 2 second-round picks. That's
the sentence I love is, you know, you're purchasing hits with some goals as opposed to goals with some hits. Yeah. Like, I think that's
right.
That's fair too.
I think you know what, Matt, it probably does make some sense that if you said, why don't you just wait, and maybe someone's going to get desperate enough that they're going to throw a 1st-round pick at you. But also, what if the preconceived notion that shooting percentage coming down leads to less goals really kicks it into 6th gear, and he doesn't score from now until the trade deadline? Or you know what I mean? And you're just like,
no, I hear you. There is risk.
I had 2 second-round
he's
picks
already been hurt. He's already hurt. He's got a right hand injury. So, yeah. That is Francesco Antonio Corrado, the future general manager of the Italian national team. Thank you, Frank. Or Francesco.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
Grazie.